jails, out in pens. There's manuals on this, and you wouldn't ever let them really learn any reading or writing. If they ever used too good an English, that was uppity, and they were beaten. Generally, there was different variants of the way slaves were kept. I've actually studied it. There was some areas where it was more like a mafia, and you had slave owners who actually had huge posses of blacks that were basically like their family, and were all armed. And there were actually some rebellions in Alabama that I read about. I'd heard about this, and I looked it up, where there were big plantation owners that began to arm their slaves. And, just basically turned it into like big gangs. So there was also a gang form of slavery where everybody was basically, a house slave. And it really wasn't even slavery. It was more of like large gangs. But then people would get really upset about that. It was only, 1.5% of Southerners actually had slaves. So it was also an elitist thing used to leverage out the rest of the economy. And that's why slavery was already pretty much dead when the Civil War came. But I'm now digressing, and I said I'd go to calls, another history lesson here. Punished for not crying, thousands of North Koreans face labor camps for not being upset enough about death of Kim Jong-il. Their hardline regime is punishing those who do not cry at the death of the dictator Kim Jong-il. According to reports, sentences of at least 6 months in labor camps are apparently being given to those who did not go to the organized morning events. Fidel Castro makes our news is always, look at people love Castro. They're out there in the millions. Yeah, you get your monthly dole of money you got to live on cut if you don't go to it. And if you talk bad, you go to a labor camp. Of course, I've been told by people that want to set up, these new utopian systems that I would have to be re-educated since I didn't want to go along with it. While anyone who criticized the new